Hey, in case you didn't know, I'm Kat Hammonds, and I'm following up from a masterclass that I taught a couple of weeks ago. And I wanted to go over this tool so that it's more accessible and you have an opportunity to ask questions about it. So if you have any questions as I move through this brief overview of this tool, please put it in the comment section and I'll get back with you. So there's lots of ways that we can assess our health, and modern medicine has gazillions of ways. There's all kinds of instruments, diagnostic assessments that we can use. They are tools that are useful and helpful. However, Ayurveda provides us with some tools that we can do by ourselves to support our health on an ongoing basis. It's a way, some of these tools that I'm sharing, there's many more, but it's a way for us to look at our bodies and see what our bodies are telling us so that we can maintain some balance, so that we don't get too far off track and we can enjoy great health throughout our lifetime. So I just wanted to go through this, and as I do, please again, just ask in the comment section. I'll get back with you. But I wanted to make sure that this tool was available and you didn't have any questions. So the very first thing that is in this guidebook is a general self-assessment. It's a tool for you to use and come back to regularly to see if anything's changed over a period of time. Maybe if you're struggling with some health, you assess yourself more frequently. But I would say annually, it's a good idea to visit this and see how things have changed, because we have a tendency to forget. And so this is a general assessment that I recommend everyone do. Another general assessment, if you don't know what your dosha is to take this so you understand what your primary constitution is. In Ayurveda, it's called the doshas. And there's 3 basic doshas. And Vata is air and space. Pitta is ruled by fire and water, and Kapha is ruled by earth and water. And when these doshic constitutions get out of balance, they have predictable symptoms. So understanding how you have been throughout your entire life, your dosha or your constitution, it's also called your prakriti, is a good way to understand the underlying foundational practices of Ayurveda. So it's a starting point. All you do with this assessment is check off what has been true for you for most of your life. And 1 or 2, every once in a while, all 3 of these doshas are prominent. This will give you a sense for really what to look out for. For example, a Vata dosha, their tendency is to have irregularity. They get thrown off quite easily, and their bodily processes aren't necessarily regular. Their physical attributes have irregularity to them. They have a tendency to be thinner. Mentally, emotionally, they have a tendency to be more anxious, for example. This is a subject that we can talk about for days and not get to the bottom of it, but this is a great place to start. Pitta dosha, they're ruled again by fire and water, and so their tendency is to be a little more intense, a little sharper. Their emotional go-to is typically anger. And when we understand this about ourselves, we begin to understand that about others, and we can really navigate our relationships inside of this doshic theory. I don't know how many women I have coached on helping their husbands balance their doshas. For example, if they have a husband that has a dosha that is pitta dominant, we coach them on creating coolness and calmness in their sphere, serving cooling foods, creating environments that are more soothing. Even color palettes can affect these doshas. So it's a vast, vast subject, but this is a very excellent starting point to begin to understand what the tendencies are. And then kapha dosha again, is ruled by earth and water. And a kapha has a tendency to be a little more sedentary. They don't have as much volition as the other two doshas have. And so their tendency would be toward like maybe weight gain or diabetes. Their go-to nature, if they're out of balance, their mental emotional state would be more lethargy. But when it's in balance, their emotional state is usually very, very sweet and kind. So the next assessment would be measuring our doshic imbalance so we can understand how we are right now. The dosha is how we've been our entire life. This is what's going on right now, not last week, not last month, not, when we were 20, right now. And that it gives us a sense for which dosha is out of balance and what we can do about it. This assessment, you're just going to run through it and check what is true for you. And often one of these doshas is going to be more prominent, and you can look up or check out in the library how to balance this particular dosha. And there's lots of different ways we can balance our doshas: through diet, through mindset, through our exercise program, through our daily routines, through moving to a different climate, even if we've got this chronic imbalance. For example, let me give you an example of that. A kapha dosha that, has massive congestion, they're sluggish, nothing's really moving right in their body. They feel heavy and dense and just blocked. If they live in a wet, cold climate, that's going to exacerbate those symptoms. So they might choose to move to a drier, warmer climate. I mean, that's an extreme example, but I share that so that you can get a sense for how these elemental values in the doshas can be balanced through lots of different methods. And we can get into that more later. But for right now, this gives you a sense for figuring out which dosha is out of balance. It's an excellent, excellent tool. And then another tool is to look at our wastes. What's coming out of us as waste products? This assessment, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to insult your intelligence. But when we're looking at, for example, what's coming out of us, our stools, this chart will tell us basically where we're at. So it's important to look and inspect our stools every single day. And if we're not having stools every single day, that's problematic. We get to do something about that. We're looking to mostly have a type 4 stool. When that's happening on a regular basis, that's a really, really good sign. So urine, another waste product, most of us don't pay attention to it, but when we start to, we begin to understand where we might tweak our routine to create more balance. And it goes through the different doshic imbalances, what the urine might show up like when one of these doshas are out of balance. Obviously, if we're dehydrated, our urination is going to be compromised, so we want to make sure we're very well hydrated. And our urine output will also show us if we're moving toxins out of the body or if we have a toxic load that needs to be removed. So it's an observation. You get more and more adept the more you pay attention to it. And then finally, the third waste product would be sweat. I remember when I was a young woman, a teenager actually, I didn't sweat. I was a long distance runner. I'd run 10 miles and I wouldn't break a sweat. That's not good. Your healthy sweat is an important part of elimination, of removing toxins. And so, again, this is a great assessment for finding out what imbalances you may have in your constitutional types. All right. The next assessment, I adore this assessment because it helps us to see. It's like a looking glass into our deeper tissues. And Ayurveda breaks down our tissues, all of our bodily tissues, into just 7 categories. And these are categorized by the most urgent. So without a lymphatic or plasma, if we have no juice in our bodies, we're dead. So this is going to take precedence. We want to make sure our lymphatic system, our plasma, is healthy because it also feeds the other tissues down the line. So this assessment allows us to see what's going on inside, like I said. So if we're chronically compromised in our lymphatic system, we're going to see some of these symptoms. And we want to deal with this lymphatic system and make sure that it is really, really taken care of. We do this seasonal reset and clear built up ama or toxins in the body so that our lymphatics can flow better. We make sure that we're hydrated. There's lots of different methods for making sure our lymphatic system is working optimally, because the lymphatics deliver nutrition to the other tissues, and it is also our sewer system. It's the thing that moves the toxic buildup or cellular waste out of the body. The blood and blood tissue, again, here we go. I'm just taking a look at this and seeing if you have any imbalances there. Muscle tissue. Again, who knew? Itchy ear canals and eczema of the ear canals and excess earwax. If you didn't, if this wasn't on the assessment, you would just go, my ears itch. This is a sign that you have an imbalance in your muscular system. Fat tissue is the next tissue. You can look through this and see where you're at. Here's something that is near and dear to my heart as a menopausal woman. I want to know how my bones are doing. I don't need necessarily a bone scan to see this. These symptoms allow us to look inside. The byproduct of bone is hair and nails. And if our hair is lustrous and it's not breaking and it's not dry and it's not falling apart, if our nails are pliable and pink and all the stuff, and our teeth are good, it's a pretty good bet that our bones are doing okay. And then the bone marrow. I'm going to talk about this for a second because it also includes our nervous system. They're the same tissue. When we're in the embryonic state, those tissues come off together and form bone marrow and our nervous tissue. So this is a great assessment to see how those things are doing. And then finally, our reproductive fluids. Now, if your libido has tanked, you know that your final fluid, your final tissue is compromised. It's a sign, right? And we can walk this back. If our libido has tanked, maybe our bone tissue is being compromised. And we can begin to walk this back and see how deeply our depletion might be. Are we absorbing nutrition? Do we have excess toxicity and buildup of undigested food products that prevent nutrition from reaching these tissues? So if you're checking off a bunch of these boxes, then you know that there's some intervention that needs to be had. All right, our tongue. Our tongue is the window to our organs. It's the window to lots of different things. So it's really important to look at your tongue daily because it will change very, very quickly based on our current situation. This goes through a number of different symptoms that you can look out for. Ayurveda recommends that you scrape your tongue every single day because ama can build up. It's the beginning of our alimentary tract. If we have a thick white coating on our tongue, for example, we know that the rest of the alimentary tract has a coating on it. It's got too much gunk. It's a technical term. But scraping your tongue every single day is both therapeutic and it allows us an opportunity to take a look and see what's going on inside of the body, specifically the digestive system. But it also allows us to look at the organ connection. So here's a little chart. And if you see something going on in the area of the tongue that is associated with the particular organ, you may want to pay attention to it and see if it stays inflamed or bumpy, or it has some characteristic irregularity, and just keep an eye on things. So I offer this tool here where you can, sketch out what's going on your tongue, and you can begin to notice any shifts or changes. Our fingernails, I talked about that earlier. Our fingernails are a byproduct of the digestion of our bones. So here are some of the things to look out for. And here are some of the signs of a healthy nail. And again, here's the little tool for sketching out what's going on with your fingernails. The beat test. I love this assessment because it's both an assessment and it's also a treatment. So the beat test allows us to look at how quickly food moves through the digestive tract. If we have very sluggish, slow digestion, we know that we are probably not absorbing nutrition. If our digestion is really super quick, we're probably not absorbing all the nutrition either. So we want that Goldilocks space for digestion. We want an optimized window from the time we take food in to the time that it leaves us. And the reason we use a beet is because of its color and because of its fiber content. It's one of the best foods for soluble fiber. So it helps to pull toxins out of the body. And we can look and see when a beet leaves us because the byproduct is going to be red, or you'll be able to notice that red color. So the beet test is simple. You just eat a beet, write down when you ate the beet, and then write down when you see the beet. Leave the other end. And here's the more detailed instructions. So we're looking to see this beet leave us between 32 and 40 hours after we digest. Now, depending on your dosha, that's going to vary some. A pitta dosha, their digestion is going to be fast. They have more fire. They have more digestive fire. So they're going to have a more rigorous digestive system. Vata is going to be irregular and Kapha is going to be slower. So just take a look at this and see if you're more on the longer end and you have a Kapha dosha, that explains why. And if it's really super duper quick, but it's still within that healthy window and your pitta, well, that's predictable. So a great test for seeing how you're doing. Now, this test is about your mental constitution, and this is more of an introduction because this subject could be studied for lifetimes and still not fully understood. But it's easy to grasp the concept and begin to use it right away. These are called the gunas. These are our constitutional types, our mental constitutional types. And the thing with the gunas is that it can change throughout a lifetime. Our goal is not to be the same mentally when we're young as when we are old. Hopefully we become more clear, more focused, more grounded, more reflective, calmer, like all the things that we're looking for, right? So here's a basic introduction to sattva guna, which is that balanced, beautiful state. Raja gunas, which is more of a irritated or busy state of mind, and the tamas gunas is more of a dull or inertia state of mind. All three of these states are important throughout our daily cycle. I mean, we can't have rajas gunas or that irritated state of mind when we're trying to go to sleep. We need tama guna. And sattva guna is something that we want to aspire toward. I hope this is making sense. Generally throughout our days, so that we meet all of our obstacles and relationships with this beautiful balanced state. So this worksheet is pretty fabulous, I must say. I put this together as I was studying Vedic counseling, and it occurred to me that our mental constitution and our physical constitution, the doshas, vata, pitta, and kapha, are intertwined. So if our physical constitution, our propensity, or our dosha is vata, our mental constitution is going to present in a particular way. So, for example, if you're really in a bad way and your physical constitution is vata dosha, and you're just really in a bind, you're not feeling well, things are dark, you're going to see that these adjectives, maybe not all of them, but some of them are going to describe your mental state, okay? And our goal, no matter what our constitution is to move our mental state over to the left, more toward a sattvic, harmonious mental state. So this assessment, one of the ways you can use it, there's lots of different ways. I like to invite people to do their own assessment and have somebody that knows them very well do an assessment so that there's a little more objectivity, because it's really difficult to see ourselves sometimes. But when we say, I'm really super indecisive, for example, we want to aspire toward these qualities to begin to move out of these qualities. The more I use this tool with others, the more they're like, wow, this is so good. It helps me to see where I'm at and to see what's possible. And folks that I've worked with over a long term of time, they can see the progression. Like, wow, I was so stuck in this state, and I can't believe that just very seamlessly I've begun to move myself to the left. It's brilliant. It's lovely. And it's a tool that I'm very, very proud of. And I think that it helps people more than you would expect. So that's all I've got today. I just wanted to go over this tool so that you can embrace it and begin to use it and to allow yourself the opportunity to learn yourself a little bit more. The more self-referential we become, the better. Anyway, again, any comments, questions, please feel free to put them in the comment thread and I'll get back with you. Namaste.